Good morning everyone. Welcome to Raj Malhotra IAS. Welcome to our daily Hindu newspaper analysis. Good morning everyone. I hope everyone is fit and fine and we are ready to start our session, right? Okay. Amridanshu, Pooja, Gunavar, all good morning to all of you, right? Okay. So we're going to start the news for today. Today is a very interesting newspaper and we shall enjoy while having an analysis of it, right? So first of all, let's try to see what is the major news that is coming up. United Nations Security Council Sanctions Committee, very important. This sanction committee is basically related to ISIL and Al Qaeda, has blacklisted Lashkar-e-Taiba's Makki after Beijing lifts its hold. So the personality or the person who is here in the news is basically this particular person, and the name of the person is Abdul Rahman Makki. He is the fundraiser radical program planner of Lashkar-e-Taiba and he has been blacklisted under this sanctions committee. Now this is a very big move if we consider in the context of India, because India is trying to place certain, let's say, persons who are involved in cross-border terrorism operations in our Kashmir area. So as a result, this is a very big move, because last year China had, let's say, put a technical hold on this particular thing, but now they have withdrew their technical hold, and as a result we are able to place this Abdul Rahman Makki in this particular blacklist list. Now if a person is put under blacklist, right, अगर वो उसे blacklist कर दिया जाता है, then there is restrictions on its foreign travel, on its funding, and there is an arms embargo on that particular person, so that its activities could be limited. So this is a very, we could say, a welcome move that has been shown by the Chinese authorities in order to make sure that this person is also blacklisted. Now we have to see in the coming future what lies ahead in this particular thing about various other names that India has proposed who are, let's say, operating, let's say, terrorism operations in Kashmir under this blacklist. There are other 4 names as well that India is trying to pursue and put them into the blacklist, and we have to see in the future whether this win that has come for India translates into something big, or we are just again on the same path with China. So we have to see in the future what lies ahead for us, but till now this is a very important thing that you should know, that Abdul Rahman Makki has been introduced into this blacklist of United Nations Security Council Sanctions Committee, right? So this thing is the most important news that has come in the today's newspaper. See, newspaper analysis is very important. You have to know what news you have to read. This is a particular news that is very important. Let's say if I talk about Indo-China relations, let's say a question comes to you in UPSC mains related to Indo-China relations, recent developments related to Indo-China relations. Yes, there could be certain negative things that are happening, let's say around the Tawang border. That was the recent standoff in the Yangtze basin. But if I talk about this particular move, you can consider it under positive steps. So these are the type of news that you have to utilize and write it in your mains answer. I hope my point is clear to you guys. Okay, right, chaliye, moving to the next part. Now, backing Sri Lanka, India sends financing assurance to IMF. I think everyone is aware of this particular fact that Sri Lanka has moved to IMF for its particular loan to, let's say, bail out them in this particular distress situation. Now, India has also given assurance to IMF related to particularly IMF financing Sri Lanka. Now this thing is very important, because Sri Lanka economy has been hit by the COVID pandemic. It has suffered various, let's say, economic stress under this particular scenario due to COVID, and one of the reason you can attribute it to is the tourism, let's say, industry that has been largely affected due to COVID. So as a result, after COVID, they are not able to recover back, plus the economic policies of the Sri Lanka didn't favor them as well, plus the loans from China has resulted into a debt trap situation of Sri Lanka. One thing we have to very, very importantly understand that China, Japan and India are Sri Lanka's 3 largest bilateral lenders. Very, very important to understand. चाइना, जापान एंड इंडिया सबसे बड़े लेंडर्स हैं अगर हम बात करें श्रीलंका की, राइट. सो दीज प्ले अ वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट रोल, लेट्स से इन द इकोनॉमी ऑफ द श्रीलंका. So this thing is very very interesting. India has backed Sri Lanka and it has sent financing assurance to International Monetary Fund. I hope this point is clear to everyone, and they are gonna get $2.9 billion package from IMF. If this deal goes through between IMF and Sri Lanka, they are gonna get $2.9 billion package from IMF. I hope this point is clear to everyone. Okay, so this is the most important news that we have for the today's newspaper on our front page. One is related to United Nations Security Council sanctioning that particular blacklisting that Abdul Rahman Makki, and second one is India has given assurance. Now this is also very very positive step. If I talk about Indo-Sri Lanka relations, recently अगर हम बात करें, India has provided credit swap facility as well to Sri Lanka as well, right? So these are the type of things that you need to understand, and notably you need to be aware of these situations. Yes, Jedi Loka, we get daily Hindu analysis, not the PDF, but we are able to analyze right here only. If you have to write the important points, you can write with me as well, so that you are able to know what you have to note it down, what points you have to extract it out, and I will try to mention it over here. Like I have mentioned in this particular news, that China, Japan and India are the biggest lenders to Sri Lanka, and what is the recently proposed $1 billion package, that is $2.9 billion package that has been proposed, that would be giving to IMF. I hope these points are clear to you guys, right? Moving to the next part, there was nothing important on regional states or south page. Coming to the editorial part. Now this editorial is very very important. Now this editorial is same thing. China must withdraw the hold on listing of 4 other Pakistani terrorists that we just discussed, which India has placed, basically who are operating, let's say are engaging in cross-border terrorism operations in Kashmir. One has been withdrew, China has withdrew their technical hold over one particular terrorist, that is the Abdul Rahman Makki, but other 4 needs to be done so as to improve Indo-China relations. This is the basic theme of this particular editorial. Now coming to this editorial, this is very interesting. The illogical rejection of the idea of South Asia. Now try to understand this particular article. It is very very interesting. They are saying South Asia as a, let's say, a grouping is not able to resolve its issues, let's say, under the forum of South Asian meetings, but are taking the issues internationally. Let's say one of the major problem that these South Asian countries are facing, I think everyone would agree with me, that is climate change. Last year Pakistan witnessed horrendous floods, but they were able to achieve something big in COP27 at Egypt. That was loss and damage fund. Very very important. They were able to achieve loss and damage fund. That was a breakthrough event that happened at COP27. But if we talk about whether there are any meetings happening of climate change within South Asia, the answer is no. The answer is no, but they are able to take the issue internationally, but they are not able to discuss that particular issue at their, let's say, regional level, that is at South Asian level. First problem. Second problem, we do not acknowledge pollution as a, let's say, regional level. We apply the problem of air pollution at local level, but we don't understand that this problem of air pollution is concentrated throughout whole of South Asia, and this problem mainly arises due to the problem of, or due to the presence of air sheds. where this polluted winds travel from Pakistan to Ganga or this area, and then it goes to Bangladesh area. So in whole of the South Asia comes under major 6 airsheds. But we are not able to realize one thing, that we have to solve this problem as a grouping within South Asia. So we are not able to solve the problem of climate change. We are not able to solve the problem of, let's say, air pollution. Third major thing that is very, very important to understand, considering Russia-Ukraine war and its impact on energy prices it has resulted in inflation, let's say, for India, for Pakistan, for Bangladesh. But if we have presented ourselves as one energy cartel of South Asia, we would be able to better negotiate with the world in relation to oil prices. So as a result, we have not taken advantage of this particular situation as well, because South Asia in itself is a very large economy. So we have not taken the advantage of this Russia-Ukraine war and forming an energy cartel. Another thing that is very important to understand, that we have a certain BBIN initiative, that is Bhutan, Bangladesh, Indo-Nepal, but here we are not able to include Pakistan. This is also a very big concern, because if we want to have a stable neighborhood, we want to have a development all around South Asia. Fifth, we discuss about terrorism at SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization or United Nations, but we are not able to discuss that particular thing at local levels. This is also one another big issue. Then there are lot of, let's say, regional trade agreements that are coming up. Let's say like we have the United States Mexico Canada agreement, Southern Common Market, that is Mercosur, European Union, Eurasian Economic Union, Cooperation Council for the Arab States of the Gulf, African Continental Free Trade Area, Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. Where is our South Asian countries free trade agreements? Our SAARC meetings are not happening because of the disputes between India and Pakistan. So as a result, this whole article wants to say that we have to make sure that we as a South Asia grouping does not get left behind by the rest of the world, considering the time that this is the time where most of the countries are favoring regional groupings and are discussing their matters within this regional groupings. But as a country like India or as a whole grouping like South Asia, we are not able to take this matter beyond, or we let's say within this our South Asian level. So these are the points that you have to take in mind, that one is the climate change, second is the problem of air pollution, third is the problem of energy cartel, fourth is let's say BBIN initiative, fifth is let's say talk of terrorism at local level, sixth is forming of these regional trade agreements. So this is the basic theme of this particular editorial, that it tries to say the illogical rejection of the idea of South Asia, because here they want to let's say focus on this fact that why we are staying away from the idea of South Asia, because we have to make sure that in the coming times we leverage our position of South Asia and try to discuss the issues within South Asia. So this is the basic theme of this particular editorial. I hope you have got my point. Hanji. If anyone has any doubt, you can ask me. If it is clear to you, type yes in the comment box so that I am able to know that you are able to understand it better. Hanji. Yes. Okay. Now, this particular news or the editorial is the thing that we have to just go through and have an idea, that is new free food grain scheme as an illusion. Now I think everyone is aware of this fact that from 1st January 2023 to 31st December 2023, government has announced that under National Food Security Act, 81 crore beneficiaries would be getting free food grains. Now this article or editorial wants to highlight this particular thing, that is the availability of this free food grains that are provided to the people. Now one thing this particular article wants to say, that this whole thing is against the, let's say, certain things that shall not be encouraged, like it is the, let's say, culture of freebies, or we can say it is the culture of revdi culture. One thing we have to understand, this is a revdi culture or it is a part of freebies. Second most important thing that we have to understand, let's try to analyze that, let's say we are providing National Food Security Act on the basis of 2011 census. But one thing we are not getting it right, that there has been lot of changes after 2011 census. A lot of new beneficiaries needed to be, let's say, given this benefit, but they are not been able to cover under the scheme because this census has not been updated yet. So one of the biggest problem is the numbers are not accurate for right now. Numbers are not accurate right now, and most of the beneficiaries do not get the advantage of this particular scheme. So this thing you have to understand, that if the government is providing, even if it is providing free food grains under National Food Security Act, they have to make sure that at least the census figures are updated, people or the required beneficiaries are able to get that particular subsidized food grains, right? So this is the basic theme of this particular editorial. Otherwise there are certain things in the editorial that are political in nature and we don't have to discuss those particular thing. One thing you have to understand, that this National Food Security Act was enacted in the year 2013, that provides for providing coverage of 75% of rural population and urban population, that is 50% overall under the framework of this National Food Security Act, where each person would get 5 kg food grains per month. That we have to understand, right? So this is the basic theme that you have to understand related to this National Food Security Act. Okay, I hope this point is clear to everyone. Let's try to move to the next topic. Okay, now I think everyone is aware of this particular news as well, that let's try to understand that the Election Commission of India has proposed new remote voting machines. Like this is the help for the migrant workers. This is the help for the migrant workers who are not able to vote because they stay for work away from their home constituencies. Now let's try to see what this particular text page is trying to say. The Election Commission of India could not demonstrate a prototype of its new electronic voting machine which would allow domestic migrants to vote in national and regional elections after the opposition raised concerns about the logistical and administrative challenges. One thing we have to understand, that Election Commission wanted to demonstrate a prototype of this remote voting machines where it asks all the parties to participate in it, but opposition parties have boycotted and rejected and staged protest against this remote voting machines. Why? Because of logistical and administrative challenges, right? A 2021 report titled "Is the Indian EVM and VVPAT?" VVPAT is Voter Verified Paper Audit Trail. That is a verification to whom you have voted in the particular election. Says that the election process should not only be free and fair but also be seen to be free and fair. Very very important to understand. एक तो है कि इलेक्टोरल प्रोसेस फ्री एंड फेयर है, ये नहीं होना चाहिए, वो ऐसा लोगों को दिखना भी चाहिए कि वो फ्री एंड फेयर हो रहा है, but it shall be seen as free and fair, which means instead of being told to trust the process, the general public shall be provided with probable guarantees. पब्लिक को भी गारंटी देनी चाहिए कि ये जो पूरा प्रोसेस हो रहा है, public shall be given the guarantee that this whole process which is being undertaking, it is pure and it is free, and we could say it is trustworthy. The report points out the details of EVM design, prototype, software and hardware verification are not publicly available for technical and independent review. उस रिपोर्ट ने बोला था, that report explicitly said that the design software of EVM are not publicly available. So how people would be able to trust the electronic voting machine? This is according to the 2021 report titled, Is the Indian EVM and VVPAT system fit for democratic elections? Now this is a concern that has been raised by the opposition parties as well. Now coming to the next part, the ECI has said, now what is the response of Election Commission of India against these things that have been alleged against, let's say, by certain reports and by certain opposition parties against the working of electronic voting machines? The ECI has said time and time again, their systems are robust, secure and tamper proof owing to technical and institutional safeguards in place. The ECI claims that the safeguards such as sealing of machines with the signature of polling agents, first level checks, randomization of machines and series of mock polls before the actual votings cannot be circumvented. Now they are saying that ECI saying their electronic voting machines are robust, they take absolute precaution before conducting any election or before conducting any poll, and their whole system is safe and secure. But one thing that is the response of the opposition parties that is there, that there is now a little bit less trust in this whole EVM process, and that Election Commission of India has to make sure that the people gets the trust in the thing in which they vote for their people whom they want to get selected in this particular regional or the local elections or the parliamentary elections. Now this is a great let's say news that is very important for us to understand, because this type of questions could come in our UPSC mains regarding the efficiency of electronic voting machines. So you need to be aware of these points in order to understand what is the stand of Election Commission of India, that they are taking prescribed security precautions, safety precautions, but what is the, let's say, one thing that is shall be done in order to make sure that public has also a trust in the process in which the elections are conducted in a free and a fair manner. I hope you are able to understand this particular thing regarding remote voting machines, right? Okay. Moving to the next part. Now, there is a news that is coming that has become very important. In 1993, Center has published the list of, let's say, through a notification, given the religious and linguistic minorities. Now, National Commission for Minorities, and there are certain things that are coming from various states as well, that identification of religious and linguistic minorities, shall be done by the states, not by the center. Now this is a very important thing that we have to understand, that National Commission for Minorities saying that the identification of religious and linguistic minorities shall be done by the states. So as a result, Supreme Court has asked the view of the center on this. So center has not been certain related to this. They are saying certain states have not given their responses, and now Supreme Court has said you ask your states what shall be the thing, whether this particular response of you, whether this notification of identifying religious and linguistic minorities shall be taken by the center or shall it be taken by the states. Now this thing is very interesting to understand, because National Commission for Minority Educational Institutions had referred to the T.M. Pai Foundation judgment that a minority, whether religious or linguistic, is determinable only by reference to the demography of the state and not by taking the consideration of the population of the country as a whole. Now T.M. Pai Foundation judgment has also said that if we have to consider the religious and the linguistic minorities, very important, if we have to consider the religious and the linguistic minorities, we have to take the geography of a state. not of the country as a whole. And this is the thing that National Commission for Minority Educational Institutions are also saying. So we have to see what is the response of the center, because despite these judgments and despite these recommendations, center is still using the 1993 notification for identification of religious and linguistic minorities. So as a result, this thing has particularly come up in the Supreme Court, right? So ये बड़ा important चीज है जो आपको जानना चाहिए. चलिए, moving on. Nothing much important here. Okay. One thing that is very interesting, India, Russia begin manufacturing of AK-203 assault rifles in UP's Amethi. Now this thing is very, very important to understand, that India and Russia are together making these assault rifles in UP's Amethi. And where it is being formed? In the Korva Ordnance Factory in Amethi. Very important. Korva Ordnance Factory in Amethi, there we are making, let's say, certain indigenous assault rifles with the help of Russia. Very, very important. And this joint venture is between India and Russia, Indo-Russian Rifles Private Limited. The name of the private limited company is Indo-Russian Rifles Private Limited, and they are preparing this AK-203 assault rifles. And this is also a very, very important step, let's say, in our positive relations between India and Russia, in our Make in India campaign, and increasing our defense capabilities. Increasing our defense capabilities. So these things are very, very interesting to understand. I hope this point is clear to everyone. Now, coming to the most important part. Now this news is very interesting. India plans buffers in proposed Arunachal project to offset China threat. Now China is coming up with the 60,000 megawatt hydroelectric power dam in Medog, Tibet. Very important. चाइना एक हाइड्रो इलेक्ट्रिक पावर प्रोजेक्ट लगा रहा है 60,000 मेगावाट का इन तिब्बत. नाउ वन थिंग यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट दिस इज बीइंग बिल्ट अराउंड द रिवर ब्रह्मपुत्र दैट हैज इट्स रोवर origin from the Mansarovar. Now you have to know that Brahmaputra flows through Tibet, then it comes through Arunachal Pradesh. Let's say Arunachal Pradesh, it goes to Assam, and then it goes to Bangladesh. But most of the flow of Brahmaputra river is in Tibet. Now China is constructing a hydroelectric dam. So as a result, it can create water shortage in India. It can create water shortage in India in the regions of Arunachal Pradesh and Assam. So as a result, India is also trying to build a hydro project. India is also trying to build a hydro project in order to offset the loss that could be caused by this particular dam that is coming up in Tibet. Now it is in the proposal stage, but one thing we have to understand, that if India also prepares a dam is prepared by China, a dam is prepared by India. So what would be left for Bangladesh? Then it would create a dispute between India and Bangladesh. Then it would create a dispute between India and Bangladesh. That would be not be good for the good bilateral relations between India and Bangladesh. So one thing, the proposal shall be there, that is how they can efficiently use the waters of Brahmaputra. That thing shall not be taking place between only India and Bangladesh, but all the three parties, that is India, Bangladesh and China, shall come together and resolve this particular issue, because water sharing is a very, very important thing, and we have seen in certain cases where water sharing disputes leads to many problems. So we have to see in the coming future what lies hold for this project, where India is planning also buffers in the proposed Arunachal project, right? So this was the important news that I wanted to tell you guys. Now moving to the next part, there is nothing that much important on world's page. China GDP has risen. Okay, center has again cut windfall tax on oil export of diesel and ATF. One thing you have to understand, that this windfall tax is lot in the news, and you can see in the upcoming exams that this could be asked in your paper. This could be asked in your papers, that is the windfall tax. Windfall tax is levied on the domestic companies who are making, let's say, out of the box profits due to increase in the prices of, let's say, oil worldwide. So as a result, this is the main thing that you have to understand about, let's say, windfall tax. I hope my point is clear to you guys. If you have any doubt, you can ask me, right? हाँ जी, किसी को कोई डाउट हो तो पूछ सकते हो. Okay guys, this is it for today. One thing you have to understand, that the major news for today, what was the major news that you have to know? That is Abdur Rahman Makki has been listed under the sanctions as a blacklisted terrorist. Second was the important editorial related to why we are ignoring South Asia. Why shall we not ignore South Asia? The second most important article was related to the free food grains under National Food Security Act. Then the important news was related to remote voting machines. What is this particular news all about? What is the proposal of Election Commission of India? What are the concerns? And what is the stand of Election Commission of India? Then India planning buffer project in Arunachal Pradesh. This was another important news. And finally, we had the news related to Supreme Court asking Center to frame its response in relation to identification of minorities, whether it shall be done by the center or the states, where the various judgment had said that this task shall be left to whom? This task shall be left to the states rather than the center. That is TM5 Foundation judgment, right? So these are the 5-6 important news for today, and you have to just go through them and have a revision of these particular news. I hope my point is clear to you guys. I will take your leave. We will see each other tomorrow, same time, 9 a.m. Do join us, and let's say thank you so much guys for joining us, right? Okay. Okay, Russia and India joint project as well, that is AK-203 assault rifles. If you are able to write down the news or remember the news after reading the newspaper, then your preparation is going very well and you are very well equipped with the current affairs. At the end of the day, when you are able to recall all the important news and write it in one page that is related to current affairs, then you shall think that your preparation is going very, very well in relation to current affairs. I hope my point is getting clear to you guys and you are enjoying the session. If anything you want to add to, what shall I be doing differently, you can tell me as well. I am open for suggestions. Okay. Okay, I didn't get the Nilgiri 3 article. I will look into it and try to discuss tomorrow, right? Krishnamurti ji? Okay. Chaliye ji. Take care. Bye bye. See you tomorrow.